Welcome to this week's episode of the New Labor Movement Show. I am one of your hosts, Troy.
And I'm Ray. Obviously, we went with my music this week, not Troy's.
We are here
to shake things up.
We are here to go over and talk about another week of local law, labor, and politics. This week we have a guest on the show. Let's bring in our
very
guest,
good one too.
Adam Baumwell.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Did I get it in correctly?
You got it mostly correctly. There's no W in there, but
Baumel.
A for effort.
How do you say it?
The correct pronunciation.
Baumel. Okay.
Yeah, very phonetic.
So the reason we are back on the show and we have you on this week, we need some expertise as far as what happens with the election process. You being deeply involved in it, we figured that you can add some insight to some of the things we will have questions on. So I called the Board of Elections since last week, trying to get some idea of what the ballots are going to look like coming up for the primary election. It's easy to get the ballot and look at it so you can know exactly, okay, what's going to be on the ballot, what proposals, what positions people are going to be in, who you're going to pick. Last week, they told me, okay, that is going to be out on the 18th. I gave it a couple of days. I called them back today and they still didn't have it out yet. So it was funny. I started calling and I asked the person on the phone, all right, you have your site. Can you walk me through your site of how to find the information at least? He said, no. I was like, what do you mean? No, you're the Board of Elections. He said, no, we handle putting the elections together. We don't handle the candidate information. We don't be one-sided. I said, no. I'm not asking you to tell me who to vote for. I just need to know all the candidates. They said, oh, you're going to have to look that up online. So I said, okay, tell me where to type to look for it. He said, no, you're going to have to Google search.
Oh, my God. Are you sure this guy isn't like also moonlight working for unemployment too?
Something like that. Now, the Board of Elections you called, Troy, you called what, the Manhattan office?
I called 3 different numbers, and two of them didn't answer.
Right, because the 5 boroughs have I used to work for the Board of Elections maybe 15 years ago, and New York City has its own separate Board of Elections. There's only like 3 places in the whole state where most of the time the Board of Elections is like a part-time gig. New York City, it's a year-round thing. Like,
you wouldn't think so.
If you go to Nassau County already has their ballots. So does Suffolk.
Wow.
I have no means of insulting you or anyone else who works at the Board of Elections, but this is the problem with having full appointee power for the Board of Elections.
100,000%.
Who has that power?
The governor.
That's one, but yeah. I got my job because I went and got signatures for someone, and then the Queen's Democratic Party basically said, you know, you did a good enough job. We have an opening. Do you want it? And that was it. That's how I got the job.
And I will go one step further. The most corrupt Democratic establishment in New York City is actually the Queen's Democratic establishment.
No comment, please.
That has no bearing on how much you deserved, that opportunity. Because, from what you're saying, you did your job. So, I mean, you earned it. But, like, Gregory Meeks is a corrupt SOB.
Just so you know,
wait a minute.
He may have been at some of our rallies, hypothetically.
No, I can tell you that right now, no.
Okay. If I ever write a book.
You guys are going way off track now, wait up. Okay. So this
I do that a lot.
This was the crux of the situation. So we're trying to do a breakdown of the elected officials in office, and we can track to see who actually voted where on bills, who stands where on what positions. In order to try to track that down, I have to have an idea and a list of who's actually running for office. There are a lot of races coming up, not just presidential, a lot of races that are very important because you elect the president, and the president, I don't know if you say like Malasho, is the person that signs the bills. They're not the one that creates the law. So if you don't have the people that create the laws put in the right places, you see the kind of stop gaps that we have now, where you have things constantly being pushed forward but moving absolutely nowhere. So those are important. So it was baffling to me that I know all the names have to be ready to be put on the ballot. So why are we waiting so long before people can get a chance to look at it in order to make their choice? And that just goes to the point where money is so important in politics, because I can't get time to sit down and research these people and make a decision. I'm going to end up going off of a short, which person I saw the most on commercials.
And that's one of the biggest problems in American politics. We have a presidential process, the election process. It's like a year and a half long. So, okay, so when I say process, it's not a formal process. So it's not voting. I'm referring to the campaigning aspect.
Right. Think about how. I apologize. Think about how far in advance people. Think about how far in advance people say, "I now throw my hat into the ring." Before even one
to me,
vote's
though, I don't
taken.
think. What's wrong with that, though?
This is what's wrong with it. It gives you, it's the money. It's all the money. Are you in favor of? And it's not like a binary choice. But are you in favor of having more money flow into politics or less money?
To me, I don't care how. Well, I can't say that I don't care how much. I'm not as a.
Think of it this way: charter. I think that's a very valid thing to bring up. Charter Spectrum. They spend money on politicians.
Right.
I'm not going to say they buy them, or do they? No, but they spend money. They have a PAC. Okay, they send checks to every single state elected official. Some of them turn it away. Most of them do not. And this includes a lot of Democrats. I mean, I didn't literally name one by one, but I put a link out when I wrote that Medium article like 2 years ago. A link to look up every single person who's taken that money. And some of the people who call themselves progressives. So,
So wait up, they send to every elected official?
It's basically like it's almost like those stimulus checks that people are getting now. They basically do that with political spending.
Think about this, Troy. If you only have to pay bills for 4 or 5 months and the government's going to pay it, you don't have to worry. If you have to pay bills for 18 and keep staff for 18 months, you're going to take money from some shady places to keep going.
Exactly.
This is the thing. Okay, I understand that about having the money. The money is separate from, I'm saying, as far as the election process. I don't see, because no one can stop you from campaigning. So if somebody wants to start campaigning from 4 years out, I don't see the problem with it. Because if I'm, say, a grassroots person where I don't have the money and I have to depend on a team to go out and actually engage the people in order to get my message out, I might need a 2-year head start for somebody that has the money for me to go out and meet every person I can and speak to let them know, like, listen, when you see that commercial, don't believe it. I'm here speaking to you, and this is what it's really about.
And the only way you can do that, the way things are currently set up, and it's the reason we have a president who we do, because celebrity. In other words, the president is so famous that the news will follow him, and he'll create his own news without having to spend money to go the distance. If you're an average guy, and how are you going to create news so that they'll cover you so that you'll get on there without money?
No, that's what I'm saying. Without the news, right now, the people that are winning in progressive campaigns are doing it through grassroots efforts, where people that believe in them.
No one's winning in progressive things.
Are going in, huh?
No one's really winning progressives.
It's unfortunate.
No one's really winning progressives.
It's few and far between when I would say progressives who are going up against the machine and winning. Like, you can think of examples, like AOC is the biggest example. Right. And I want to make it very clear here. She's not perfect. I have no problem admitting that. She's made some mistakes, and everyone notices her because she's like she's the biggest celebrity in politics, if you think about it, other than Trump.
She's definitely clearly progressive.
But I mean, if you want anyone who thinks that she's not doing a good job for her constituents should watch the debate that she just had with what's her name, the CNBC host who's running against her as a Democrat. This woman lived in a Trump apartment that was $15,000 a month in Manhattan up until like 6 months ago, and she's running against her in the Bronx and in Queens.
Wait, there was a debate?
Over Zoom or
Yeah,
virtual.
but why do I always miss this stuff? I look for this stuff and can't find it.
Because the media doesn't care about making sure you see it.
It's also, think about it, in the state of New York, the state is like almost 3.5 to 1 Democrat to Republican. The city's 7 to 1. So you're not going to cover something it's going to be a Democrat anyway. It's not going to be hotly contested.
No, but that's a Democratic primary. But whatever it is, even like I should be able to have knowledge that debate is taking place. I'm
Right.
online searching for debates, and I didn't know that was taking place. So that's not good.
It's really a shame. And not only that, I mean, again, I don't want to say I have no dog in the race. Like, I would definitely prefer to see Max Rose keep the seat versus Nicole. I mean, if it is Nicole, if she ends up winning her primary.
Listen,
But she's refusing to debate the other Republican who's running in her district. Michael Calderon, is that his name? She's refusing to debate him. Meanwhile, she refused to debate me more than once.
I mean, that's one of the people
As
far as reaching out, I have an issue with. Just for the fact alone, when somebody crosses a strike line, you kind of like, and with the explanation that she gave, you kind of like lose me there. So her whole thing is a little different.
Oh, you're talking about when I called her out for taking the money from Spectrum?
Yes.
Yeah,
and
that was fun.
And you called her out for crossing the strike line, and she said, "Well, I have to speak to my
You
constituents."
prove I've never done anything bad with that money. And then I asked, I'm like, have you ever spoken out in favor of like the scaffolding, anything that basically protects workers? And nothing, crickets.
But this is the thing that I don't understand, and I wonder if this is part of the problem. How you think about how many working men and women, union members. A union member knows somebody's a strike breaker, crosses a picket line, and then does it unapologetically. They won't go and back that person. At most, they would just not vote for them. So how is it that she would still be able to get support and say union endorsements at this point if knowingly people can see what she's voting on, how she's voting on for, and know like, okay, you're a person that crosses a strike line. And that's just not just her, multiple people with the same problem.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's very true. It's one of those things, it's like, we definitely know the challenger has better, I don't want to say necessarily better ideas, but ideas that will benefit us more. But I was a long shot. And in my case, I was a long shot. I was underfunded. I had not enough resources. I had nowhere near enough bodies. I mean, there's other things that happened too that I don't know if I want to be saying out loud because I'll have someone like trying to assassinate me. But it's New York politics is so incredibly dirty, and I'm not just talking about Republicans. And you will never know how dirty it is unless you run yourself or are like involved in the internal aspects of a campaign. And it's disgusting. It is nothing short of disgusting. I'm not saying he's never done something good, but what has he done for the Local 3 strike? He said that he could kick out Spectrum if he wanted to. They've been doing this to you guys for 3 years plus.
When did he say that?
I was going through articles today through WNYC, I think it was. And the quote was, I can boot them out of the state. When is it going to happen? You've had 3 years. They violated the merger multiple times. They have, like, so incredibly obviously union busted you guys, with the decertification process. At what point is this like iron fist going to come down and do something? It's all talk. That's the point. It is all talk.
My question was, what is because they say that you're a delegate and you start, what is the delegate actually? What is the position? What does it does? What value does it hold?
So there's a proportion when you go to the Democratic National Convention.
Okay.
Now, the amount of delegates you have gives you more ability to leverage the way the Democratic Party can change their platform moving forward.
Why?
Great example of why having more Bernie delegates is beneficial to not only Bernie Sanders or Bernie supporters, but to the party. Super delegates. Whether you wanted Bernie or not, do you think super delegates existing are a good thing, or not even necessarily good or bad, but democratic? Is there anything democratic about super delegates?
No.
They did change it this year, but it's it's not, if it was going to be a brokered convention, right, then the superdelegates would come in the second round and get votes, which would be crazy. How did you get considered to even be a Bernie delegate?
So I think someone nominated me, if I recall. And then I basically put, like, I guess you might call my resume, like the things that I've done. So I included, of course, that I ran in 2018. I included my views, my ideology, whatever, anything like that. Any kind of things I've worked on. So as far as like supporting you guys, like in your strike, supporting transit issues and other things like that. And I was then contacted by the campaign, and of course they were they branched out. So there are organizations that were not officially part of the campaign that were involved in this process as well. So in New York, NIPAN was the main contributor as far as choosing the delegate candidates. And every single congressional district, you choose 3 male and 3 female. Bernie Sanders is the only candidate to qualify a full slate of candidates in every single congressional district in the entire state of New York. Biden did not, Warren did not, Buttigieg did not, no one else did. Only Bernie did, with 65,000 signatures.
Good for him.
I don't understand.
It doesn't mean he won the state. I'm not, I'm just saying the grassroots organizing of this campaign, there are many criticisms I have of the campaign too. The grassroots organizing is something that the Biden campaign will never know how to work with. They'll never know how to garner. They just can't do it. Who's calling people? No one is getting excited about this campaign. That's why I'm
drifting again.
Sorry. Okay.
Well, listen. What the explanation you just gave, Ray. I don't know if you understood it, Ray, but I didn't understand it.
I did.
You did?
So I essentially
wait, Ray, explain it to me. In other words,
so what happened was because he got enough signatures, Bernie was able to nominate 3 men and 3 women, 3 male, 3 female people in all the congressional districts. The people who went out and nominated these people, I believe, were related to probably somewhere between the campaign and the Democratic Party, made sure that the people that they nominated for that guy believed what that guy believed.
I mean, you're essentially correct. You made it very.
The only thing I don't know is who officially went after you. Were they officially Democratic Party? Were they officially Bernie? Or were they just like donor class kind of people? Or a mixture of all 3?
Yeah, I mean, so again, it's in the more populated area, like in New York City, I would imagine all the candidates had a full slate of people everywhere. There's so many people who can sign, and it's different upstate. That's why it's challenging to do this. But essentially, you want enough delegate candidates going, or delegates, because so I'm a delegate candidate. I'm not a delegate yet. It all depends on the proportion of the vote.
So, when do you find out if you're the official delegate?
Wait.
So the way.
Wait. Can somebody explain to me what a delegate or a delegate candidate is? So I understand that I'm not gonna go too simple. A delegate is a representative of the candidates. So they don't actually, once you vote,
correct,
the amount of delegates is just a representation of the votes for that person.
Correct. So you receive a proportion of the vote in each congressional district. That's how many delegates you are assigned.
Okay. So now the delegates are put in by votes from the people or appointed by senators, members of Assembly?
So that's another thing you get to vote on. So for instance, I'll give you an example. In my district, which is New York 11th, which is all Staten Island and South Brooklyn, basically, every single Democratic registered voter will get to vote for the Democratic primary. And again, regardless of who has suspended their campaigns, you can vote for literally any candidate. But you can even vote for another candidate and any selection of 3 men and 3 women that are running as delegate candidates. So for instance, if someone... Yeah.
Wait, not there. Your name was on the ballot as a delegate candidate, and when people went to the polls, they voted you in.
Well, they'll be able to. So again, the election is not until late.
Okay,
June.
right. Okay, so that gets your name on the ballot. Who was the one that chose to get your name to get put on the ballot? Because right now you're a delegate candidate.
It was that process of selection was done through NIPAN, which is the New York Progressive Action Network.
Okay. So they basically just select the people that they want to be delegate candidates.
Yeah, they were kind of, I guess they were coordinating with the campaign, but they're not part of the Bernie Sanders campaign.
Okay, so that gives me our answer. NIPAN selects delegate candidates, and those delegate candidates get voted on by the people.
Yeah, they do the organizing aspect of the delegate process,
Okay.
I guess you could say.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's my
Now, does each candidate gets to nominate 3 and 3, right?
Hold on. If
3 men and 3 women, but again, you have to collect enough petition signatures.
All right, so the delegates, I understand. I understand somewhat now. The next question we had, when I was looking to try to find, because we made a list of categories that we felt that working men and women will want to have an answer to. Like, if we know how this person stands on this, this would tell us if we want to vote for this person or not. So now I went to the people's website to try to figure out if I can put an X or a check mark next to whether they support this or not. If they're not an elected official or in office, now you have to it's very difficult to tell if this poor person supports this specific position without having them in front of you and being able to debate and ask them. So when I was trying to go on the site and look up these candidates' record, I basically had to go website to website and try to ascertain what I felt they felt about a position. How do you, if you know what categories you stand for, how do you get a prospective candidate view on issues without going to them one-on-one basis?
There needs. I know. I actually am friends with a guy who's Canadian who's trying to start up a website. And I'd have to look it up, and I can get it back to you if you ever want to look into it yourself. And he wanted to actually use my campaign as like a guinea pig, which it didn't get off the ground in time to do anything with it. But it essentially would almost make a social network out of politics. So it would give people the ability, like voters, the ability to vote on issues the way they feel they should be, to more directly communicate with elected officials, which I think is very important because elected officials, there's no real link. Like if you look, like there's an organization called Represent.us.
Okay.
And they do a lot of studies and research on how elected officials vote versus what their constituents want them to vote on. So anyway, like if you have enough people, like let's say something that, and I'm not saying this is like necessarily an example, but like Diane Sabino is a very well-known senator in a state senator in Staten Island and in parts of Brooklyn.
Okay.
Let's say she votes for something that, a lot of people disagree with. These people should literally go and protest outside her office if they disagree with her. And you should be organizing on, I mean, let's just put it what it is, shaming the politician for voting the wrong way. Now, they're going to have to be people who agree with a politician. And again, I only made an example. I'm not saying this is a specific thing. But like, there should be 1,000 people outside their office screaming through at the top of their lungs. So you can't ignore them. But this doesn't happen. This is why.
Even simpler than that. I don't even got to go outside your office and scream at you. I don't think people do as simple as make a phone call to the office and ask, why did you do that? There's a couple of bills that we had up on the shows in other episodes as for blockers. So for some reason, Ray said it. Certain politicians' names always come across the bottom of the screen. The same names over and over again. We see them. I call a couple of them and I say, you know what? I want to give you the benefit of the doubt. This bill, because sometimes there's pork stuff in the bill and it like, listen, I didn't vote it down because XYZ was in there and the public doesn't know about it. So I call them and ask them, this bill, prevailing wage or whatever it was, I want to, I see that you voted down on it. I wanted to ask the elected official why they voted it down. Never get a call back. Call again, never get a call back. And I don't expect to get a call back, but I have to call and ask. Because if I can call and ask and you can duck me, then I can know when it comes next election time, you are one of the people that we have to take out. But if you don't even make the phone call to do it, or if I make the phone call and I tell you about it and you don't act on it because of some other ancillary reason that you feel that the person should still stay in office, then what are we doing besides chasing ourselves in circles?
I hate to sound petty, but you know what actually to some degree works. It doesn't always work. You gotta publicly out someone when they won't get back to you.
Yeah.
I just do want to say one last thing about the delicate stuff.
That
So, and this is to, anyone who watches, you don't have to be a Bernie supporter, Biden supporter, whatever. Vote for who you want to vote for. It's the primary. So there's no penalty to vote for who you want. The same thing goes for delegate candidates. You can vote for any people you want to vote for. So it could be one Bernie delegate candidate. It could be two Biden, you could mix it up. It just has to be 3 men and 3 women. And I mean, this is part of what makes democracy work, is that people actually do this and vote the way they want. Don't be shamed into voting for someone.
Well, honestly, in this campaign, especially now where Biden is the only candidate, Bernie suspended his candidacy. So honestly, this is the time that you can vote freely without kind of fear of.
It's a primary.
Right. And it's kind of similar to what I'm thinking about now with what's going on with ranked choice voting, because whether you had, say, a qualm, if you were a Democratic candidate, you were trying to decide between Biden or Bernie, but you didn't want to have, you didn't want to make the wrong choice because you saw that one outcome would lead to the person that you really didn't want to get in getting in. Now you can kind of vote freely for who you wanted to vote for without feeling that fear. And that is like really putting the democratic process in, where you can vote without having to try to not vote and to not get somebody in as opposed to voting for who you want.
In 2021, we have ranked choice voting in New York City.
Oh, yeah.
I've been pushing for this. For
look at Ray. He still does not understand the concept. We're going to do that show again one day.
No, I totally get the concept. I just
think that. No, you don't.
No, I really do.
The way you broke it down, you don't understand the concept.
I totally get it. I get it. Listen, there's a difference between not agreeing with it and not getting it.
Yeah, but when you explained it, the way you explained it, and you said your vote was going to be wasted, you don't understand the concept.
There literally is no such thing as a wasted vote anymore in ranked choice voting. And not only that, in all likelihood, you never need to do a revote ever again. So you don't need to waste that money ever again.
It helps in so many ways. It doesn't hurt in any way. But I know a way I think of that I can, because there was somebody else on Facebook too that I was debating this with that was saying that the vote gets wasted. And I was like, no, you're explaining the concept. The way you understand the concept is wrong. And I was like, I know a way to break it down and show it to make it easier. We're gonna do that show again.
Believe me, I can talk about all these issues ad nauseum, to bring up some Latin here.
All right, so that's it for another episode of the New Labor Movement show. I like to thank our guest for this week, Adam Baumer.
There you go. That's close enough.
What are your hosts, Troy?
I'm the other host, Ray.
And this is the New Labor Movement show signing off. Adam Baumel? No. Damn it. Adam Baumel. Adam Baumel.
B-A-U is
Baumel.
Baumel.
Adam Baumel. Good. That was good.
Yes, it was.
Third time the charm.